What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. Today it is my championship review for week 39. Some incredible results going around in the past couple of days within the championship. The next round of games are going to be the games playing in around the Easter week. So we've got a lot of games to actually look forward to. We've got 6 Premier League games actually to predict in this midweek. It's basically the catch-up Premier League games, which I will be predicting in the second half of this video. But the main focus today will be my reaction to the 12 championship games that took place this weekend. Prediction League has been updated and you'll be able to see that in the latest community post. But very briefly, I just want to say a massive thank you and just a shout out just to all of you, because the response that I got within my last video, which was a very hard video for me to make, it was one that gave me sleepless nights thinking about that I was going to have to do at some point, but so much frustration was building over and over time, and it's still not even quite resolved, even with me having a holiday, that I've got time to sort myself out. There's a real big sense of laziness that's still rooted within my personality, which I really need to try and attack and address. And getting rid of things that could potentially distract and prevent me dealing with those things is ultimately my plan, to see if I can make a solution from it. But you guys have been super nice about my whole decision to step back with my duties of presenting championship content on a regular basis. I'm not gone for good. I want to make that clear, because I do want to try and keep streaming the odd game that I would watch. But in terms of prediction leagues and all of that stuff, all of that is ending within this season. So it means the current prediction league, is quite a symbolic one in a way as well. So if you guys do want to enter in that prediction league, all you just got to do is leave your predictions each time we predict a game. And for the Premier League prediction league, you're able to predict the next 6 games in this video today. But enough of me waffling. If you guys like what you see, please smash that like button. It really does help me. It shows that you guys are still loving what I do. If you've not hit the subscribe button, now's not really a better time to really do so. I mean, what an achievement it will be if I step back and we are 2,000 subscribers greater than what we were when we started it. That would be an absolute peak, knowing that I not only exceeded my target, but I 100% exceeded my target as well. It'll be absolutely amazing. And please also share the channel too, because all these things really do help. But without any further ado, let's start properly digesting what on earth went on in the championship this weekend. Let's start off with the game that I actually watched live with all of you guys. We witnessed Burnley and Sunderland drawing 0-0, and it's the first time actually all season that Burnley failed to score at home. So that tells you how much of a good job Sunderland did to prevent Burnley from scoring. But what I did see in that game, this was a team of Burnley where they had parts where they played like their normal selves, but it was very scrappy. And for what I saw, Burnley lacked sharpness. They weren't creating as many shots on target as we're used to. They missed a couple of big chances, especially the final 10 minutes of that first half. If we see stats here, 13 shots to 7, but if we compare stats, 5 shots to 5 there, and then 8 to 2 there, with only 2 on target. So there's been a real problem of Burnley just not looking clinical at all in that game. And Sunderland, whilst they didn't need to hold the ball that much, they actually were probably the closest to scoring in the second half, where Amad Diallo's deflected shot hit the bar as well. So Sunderland, whilst they got a really good draw and they'll take this draw, they also had chances to potentially get the breakthrough there as well. So a brilliant negative performance by Sunderland, but it did the job. That draw for Burnley puts them on -4. It does prevent their chances of getting the points record. They'll have to win every single one of their remaining 8 games now, Burnley. Anytime they drop points, it means they cannot beat the record. So not impossible, but it's going to be very bloody hard for them to do it now. But Sunderland, they're 12th, And in a way, they've actually gained a tiny little bit of ground, actually, following the fact that Watford lost this weekend. So, well done to Sunderland. What an away point that was. Now we're going to go through some of the derbies. Let's start off with Luton and Watford. The contrast between these two teams is staggering, considering what their squad values suggest. And this was a perfect revenge story for Rob Edwards. The way that he got quickly dismissed as Watford manager, and to see the pickle that they are right now, it is beautiful karma for his part there. Also, and Alan Campbell are the two goal scorers for Luton Town to give Luton that 2-0 win. Let's look at stats. You got 13 shots to 2. 13 shots to 2. And in fact, I looked at Watford's XG, 0.07, the lowest XG out of all of the teams this weekend. Did they even try? Did they bother? You can clearly see that they held the ball for a lot of it, but apart from the goalkeepers having saves and having way more passes than Luton, they just passed the ball aimlessly and did nothing with it. To only have 2 shots all game is shocking. And both shots, as you can see here, are outside the bloody box. That is shocking. I'm sorry, but in terms of performances go, that has got to be up there for one of the worst that I have seen this season. But I'm not discrediting how good Luton are this year. 2-0 win, another clean sheet. There's no coincidence that Luton have kept one of the most clean sheets all season. And in fact, they've lost the second less games out of all teams this season. Only Burnley have actually lost less games than Luton Town. Well done to Luton and to Rob Edwards. It feels like that they transitioned for the loss of Nathan Jones remarkably well, and right now they look even greater than they have been before. For Watford, there's more problems that need to be ironed out and fixed. I would still give Chris Wilder time with his great championship experience, but there's clearly a lot that does need to be ironed out ASAP, otherwise things will get worse before they get better for Watford here. Next game to talk about is Preston 3, Blackpool 1, another derby and another home win for the derby as well. Preston managed to get a 3-goal lead, and 2 first half goals pretty much for me killed Blackpool's momentum here. Especially when it got to 3-0 in the 51st minute, I was really fearing it for Blackpool that this could be 4, 5 or 6. To be fair to them, it looked like, as you can see here, when Preston got that free, Preston kind of took their foot off the gas and they just almost allowed Blackpool in a way to actually grow into the game, and that's exactly what they did. Only got 1 goal out of it though, so it wasn't like they even grew into the game substantially. You can see that Blackpool actually outshot Preston here, but the difference here is this: 7 shots on target to 5. You can see that the quality of chances was much better for a Preston North End's point of view. The big chances, however, you can see here that Blackpool actually missed some big chances. 2 big chances missed, and one of them hitting the woodwork as well. So maybe another day, if Blackpool had their scoring boots on and they took those chances, it could be different. But it did seem that Preston looked very comfortable for most of that game, and it was a really, really good performance by Preston in the end. It finds them in 10th place. Not impossible, to rule them out of the top 6 yet, with them only being 5 points behind Blackburn. But of course, they have played 1 game more than Blackburn, and if they win that game in hand, then they'll have to look towards Millwall. But it's definitely not impossible if Preston can actually improve their form. In terms of Blackpool though, that was a bad result for them. Following the other 2 members of the bottom 3, Wigan and Huddersfield, picking up wins, this was definitely not a good weekend for Blackpool, and Mick McCarthy really is now running out of time to see if he can actually turn things around for this Blackpool side. Let's now go to the 3 o'clocks. So, Birmingham 1, Blackburn 0. This would have been a big opportunity for the chasing pack to get good results here, but as you can see in this table here, with that streak of losses, no one really did. No one really took advantage at all. If anything, the biggest winners were West Brom and Preston actually. But we'll get on to West Brom a little bit later. You can see with Birmingham winning by 1-0, that win for Birmingham puts them on 48 points, and you can surely put them down as someone now that you would think that they are safe. They are 9 points clear of Huddersfield, So something tells me, well, they shouldn't be safe therefore. But with the amount of teams that are below Birmingham, they would need to have a lot of results to go against Birmingham's fall for them to be really considered to be a relegation friendly club. Now, I think personally they've got enough, and if anything, I just think they've got enough options. Rida Kadra, their January signing, is the only goal scorer here to make it 1-0, and that is a really good bit of business that Birmingham have done. That January business has really paid off for them there. Blackburn did have more of the ball, but I've said this many times before about Blackburn. They actually do better without the ball when hitting teams on the break. You know, they did that effectively when they beat Norwich 2-0 at Carrow Road. When they have to dictate play, it's a lot more difficult, I find, for Blackburn to break teams down. And you can see here, having 8 shots on target, they weren't able to take them. I'm intrigued to see how close the shots were in goal. And look at that, there was quite a lot of shots. In fact, most of them were shots in the box. So potentially good defending and good goalkeeping for Birmingham's part there as well. Birmingham hitting the woodwork there, but 3 big chances missed for Blackburn. So potentially a little bit of a game that they shouldn't have actually gone to this stage. So Birmingham, with these 3 points, they would happily take, with their relegation worries now definitely lessened now for Blackburn. Bit of a sigh of relief following the fact that a lot of the chasing pack had lost also this weekend, but a big opportunity missed to potentially make some ground at the top 6. They'll just really have to make do with that game in hand. It might be against Burnley though, so I'm not too sure if I'm going to be too confident backing Blackburn for that. But we've seen stranger things happen in this championship all season, which I'll discuss in a minute. Bristol City and Reading ended as a 1-1 draw, a pretty even game overall. Conway giving Bristol City the lead in the first half, Lucas João levelling things up for Reading in the second half. You can see with the attack momentum, however, you will see that it was Bristol City that were doing most of the talking in terms of trying to get something out of it. And what Reading did is something that they've been typically doing most of the season, is that they may not even create a lot, but when they do create, they are clinical when they need to be. Only 2 shots on target, and one of them had to be that equalising goal. Bristol City with 18 shots with 8 on target, you would think with that sort of accuracy, Bristol City needed to get another goal, but they didn't. They missed those chances. Both teams had missed one big chance here, and Bristol City hitting the woodwork as well. Very unlucky on them there, on that part there. But it seemed to be a little bit of an open game, and for an away performance, I actually think Reading got a lot of things right here. So I've got to say fair play to Reading. You know what, I still think they will need to create a little bit more than this away from home, but if they're going to stay clinical as that and give these teams like a Bristol City a nightmare who will miss these chances inevitably, then by all means carry on as they are. Now, this whole points deduction conundrum makes things very interesting now. You can see if it's 6 points deduction for Reading, they are only 1 point above the relegation zone. I am really going to be keeping my eye on the latest updates with that, because if that points deduction is imminent and it does take place this season, this will really spice things up for the relegation battle now. And honestly, I just wanted an entertaining championship conclusion, and this would definitely be a good little subplot to potentially see what unfolds in the final day of the season for Bristol City. I mean, they're kind of in a mid-table position now, aren't they? So they've not really got too much to play for. Now, for final trio of derbies we had this weekend in the Championship, and this one conceded the most goals. Cardiff 2, Swansea City 3. Wow, I did not expect this at all. Typically, when we see the South Wales derby, it is a very low scoring game, so this was really unusual for me. Swansea taking a quick lead with Joel Pirro and Liam Cullen making it 2-0. Villogian Bidace getting a consolation or a crucial halving of the deficit just before half time there. And when it was 2-2 and Sorry Cabba made it 2-2, I thought, wow, with the momentum that Cardiff are running, maybe they could take all 3 points. But it is Swansea that do bite back, and I do want to see stats for this. Very close, 9 shots to 10, 3 shots on target to the 4th there, 4 shots on target to 3. Possession wise, 59%. So to be fair, as terms of possession goes, that's not as high amount of possession that we typically see from Swansea there, which is very interesting. big chances. Both had missed one big chance each, which is very interesting for me to see that as well. So to be fair, it was a close result and it was a very even game. But this does come under blow for Cardiff, because you can see here, I know they have a game in hand over Huddersfield, but they are now only outside of the relegation zone on goal difference. That is really telling me that Cardiff, who looked completely safe a couple of game weeks ago, are now being dragged right back into it. So are Rotherham and so are QPR, and especially Reading now if they do get 6 points deducted as well. So if we can see up to 7 teams fighting relegation in the final day of the season, I can't wish for anything more. That would be incredible. Good win for Swansea though. That really improves their current state of affairs, because now that's back-to-back wins, and if they do carry that on, maybe a top half of the table is imminent. They've definitely got a squad for it. It's really just now down to getting that confidence up and making sure it stays up there, and they carry on with this consistency. Definitely one of the most bizarre results of the season, but then when you consider the form and the performances that Stoke have been putting in quite recently, it probably shouldn't have gone as a surprise. But I think the biggest shock is the extent of the scoreline. A 4-0 defeat. Coventry, who are unbeaten, I believe it was in 16 or something like that. It was like a really, really big unbeaten record from this Coventry side. But within 6 minutes, for the fact that Stoke scored that very early goal really did set a bad tone for this Coventry side. And I think definitely when it went to 2-0 at half time, I think it made things very difficult for Coventry for that second half. I think had it been 1-0 to Stoke at half time, I would have expected Coventry to have a bit more optimism and to potentially be a little bit more successful with their decision making and to take more chances. But apparently when Will Smallburn made it 3-0, it was all Coventry, but then a break for Stoke manages to score to make it 3-0, and it tells you that you can have so much control, but at the same time you can't give too much away. Look at the amount of shots we're seeing here. 26 shots to Stoke. 26. I don't think I've actually seen that many shots in a single game for quite a while. 15 shots for Coventry. So if we do the maths, that is 41 total shots in a game. And if we're going to do the maths again with that, that is averaging a shot just over 2 minutes in that entire game. That is incredible. 11 shots on target as well to their 6. Both containing a lot of shots. Both probably could have been a bit more clinical with it. Close with the turns in possession there. 6 big chances. And look at that. 4 out of 4 big chances missed for Coventry. So definitely could have been a very different scenario. And it did seem that it could have even been more than 4, which is absolutely crazy. And you would have definitely thought that Coventry should have got something out of this. Not potentially 3 points or even a point, but definitely to score more goals. That defeat for Coventry keeps them in around the chasing pack. Could have actually been worse had Norwich won that game, but they didn't. They actually lost to Sheffield United in the end. So it turned out that there was not really much movement within the chasing pack at all, which I thought was going to be the most interesting part of this weekend. But for Stoke, they're just improving. Look at that. They've now stretching an unbeaten run in place now. 51 points. Don't think it's going to be a top 6 ride for Stoke, but you could definitely see that they are going into a positive direction. And I'm really, really pleased for them in a way that they are starting to get their act together. When I said anything can happen in the Championship, this is what I was alluding to. What the bloody hell has happened here? Huddersfield 4 and Middlesbrough 2. We see a couple of 4-2 scorelines or 2-4s if it being the other way around. But this was 22nd place Huddersfield, and still 22nd place Huddersfield to be fair, against 3rd place Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough did have the opportunity to potentially briefly get themselves in the conversation and getting into 2nd place in that table in the Championship. But after this game, that has thrown a big fat spanner in Middlesbrough's chances of getting promoted now, because Neil Warnock has just managed to get the fortune out against his former managed club. Force for Middlesbrough took the lead and actually kept that lead at half time. I don't know what Michael Carrick said, but you would have expected that he would have wanted Middlesbrough to kill the game. Neil Warnock, I mean, you could imagine what he said at half-time going 1-0 down. Whatever it did, it gave him a kick up the backside because they scored 3 goals in 11 minutes, and that killed Middlesbrough, especially when it got to 4-1 in the 66th minute there. Chubarapon made the scoreline a little bit less embarrassing, making it 4-2, but that is a huge result within the relegation and the top 2 race. 20 shots to 13, so likewise with Coventry and Stoke, so many shots in this game. I'm really liking that teams are really giving it a go, and some teams being really open and conceding these chances as well. 4 big chances, 2 missed to Middlesbrough and only 1 to Huddersfield there. Absolutely incredible. It puts Huddersfield on 39 points. It really gives them a fighting chance, and fair play to Neil Warnock. Really couldn't happen to a better man, but for Middlesbrough, not good. Luton are now on the same amount of points as them, and they are 6 points behind Sheffield United, and Sheffield United have got a game in hand. Win that, it'll be a 9-point gap. It really is now going to be Middlesbrough just praying that Sheffield United drop points elsewhere, but if they play like they did against Norwich, which I'll speak about soon, then I think Middlesbrough are not going to get it, and I think Sheffield United will have good enough results, and potentially my prediction for the top 3 is going to be spot on. How Rotherham ended in the second 0-0, I won't be talking too much within this one. The big moment really was Domingos Quina, so professional foul there, so preventing a goal scoring opportunity by the sounds of it there, and it seemed to work because even when Rotherham went down to 10 men, Hull just couldn't find the breakthrough. 1 shot on target out of 18 total shots. Oh my gosh, what a snooze fest that is. 8 corners each, Hull missing 2 big chances and then hitting the woodwork. So potentially Hull was capable of nicking it, maybe by 1-0 or maybe a 2-0 had they taken their chances. I'd still get concerned with Rotherham with how little they've created, but right now these draws are actually doing Rotherham a much bigger favour than you may be thinking, especially with Blackpool losing, with Cardiff and QPR losing. Rotherham could see this as 1 point gained. So definitely a better result for Rotherham than them losing this game. And for Hull, I mean, they're going to be mid-table. They're not going to be too urgent in terms of trying to go back to winning ways very anytime soon. They're going to be thinking about where is this team going to go to next season if they're going to have any optimism whatsoever. This is now the time I'm going to talk about Sheffield United because they nicked a 1-0 win over Norwich, and hearing the commentary, it did seem like very similarly to the Hull and Rotherham game. Look at that, very little chances on goal, only 2 shots on target combined from all the teams, and only 14 combined shots, which I actually think is less overall than that Hull Rotherham game. I know the conditions weren't great. I knew it was definitely very windy and stormy conditions, which didn't help the state of play, but it was Sheffield United that managed to get used to that really rough northern weather and managing to get themselves a goal. James McAtee on loan from Manchester City managing to get the only goal, and Max Lowe getting the assist, and that really has put a dagger in Norwich's chances of getting into the top 6. They really could have been in a really good position, closing into the top 6 within 1 point with a win. But what they've done instead is that they've given Sheffield United 1 foot already in the Premier League, and right now Sheffield United, if they could just even win half of their games, I actually think that in itself would just be enough. And fair play to them, because that was a crucial game and Sheffield United became clutch when they needed to be. Now to the third and final 0-0 draw. That was between West Brom and Millwall. Hearing the commentary, it seemed that Millwall were really pushing at the end, and you could see this was actually one of the more entertaining 0-0 draws with 30 combined shots, and for all of it being 0-0 is quite impressive in itself. 4 shots on target for Millwall there, so I can see here that Millwall looked much better at creating those chances. But that conversion rate from West Brom is dreadful. 1 shot on target in a total of 16 shots is not great at all. Millwall missing 1 big chance, so it did look like that both teams were set up pretty well, and I probably should have expected that. I think I even remember mentioning in my predictions thinking, I think this has the capability of a 0-0, but I don't want it to be a 0-0, so I'm going to say 1-1. So sometimes I really feel I should go with my head and not my heart at times. In terms of who's really going to benefit from this, maybe Millwall slightly more, but Millwall would have definitely preferred to pick up all 3 points there. Definitely would have given them a bigger gap from the chasing pack at this moment of time. With West Brom, you can see they're on 56, and they've actually gained a point from the rest of the chasing pack. So they could arguably look at it and thinking, you know what, that is a very decent result for us. So fair play to West Brom. They managed to get something out of it, and by the sounds of it, it looks like that they were actually quite fortunate to hold on in the end, considering the amount of shots on target that Millwall did manage to create against them there. It's now going to be interesting to see how they move on and to see if West Brom will go on a positive momentum and if Millwall are going to slump. Are we going to see potentially the side swapping places? It suggests to me that I think Millwall are now starting to get the experience that they need to stay in that position, but you can never back West Brom. You know, that you can't write them off. They definitely will have the determination and will have the ability to get into those positions with a couple of good results. The final game to basically talk over is Wigan 1, QPR 0, and who predicted 1-0? It was me. The correct team winning as well, and it was an early goal that settled it. Max Power from the penalty spot. Now, I am getting very worried for QPR because their form is criminal. Since Halloween last year, QPR have had 2 wins. 2 wins. And the amount of games between Halloween and now is 23 games. Can you understand that that is an under 10% win rate percentage? That is incredible that it can actually stoop that low. 15 of their 23 games have been defeats as well, which is even more worrying to me. 8 shots each, 4 shots on target to 3 there. It looked quite tight, to be honest there, but once again, QPR running out of ideas. 0 big chances, 0 counter-attacks, and it seemed that that was how Wigan were playing and hitting them on the break, and it was very, very effective in that front there. Only 3 shots on target, and I am getting, as I said, really worried about QPR's chances here, because if they're going to carry that under 10% win rate percentage, they're only going to win, I don't know, maybe 1 out of their last 7 games that they've got. I mean, I don't know. You'd think maybe a win could be enough, but considering that Huddersfield right now, you know, even if QPR do get 45, will then only be 6 points behind, and Huddersfield are now currently 3 points behind. I think really, you know, right now QPR really need to try and sort this out. Wigan, I think this is going to be fighting a losing battle, but it does delay the inevitable, I think, with a 1-0 win there. If they do go on a streak, I will be very interested to see if they could potentially climb up against Blackpool, for instance, and can potentially drag some teams into it, like a QPR. That could be a really, really big statement. A good one for Wigan, but a damning one for QPR. So guys, that is my review done for the Championship. This is what your table looks like. Burnley and Sheffield United top 2, but Sheffield United now with a 6-point gap with a game in hand with Middlesbrough, since Middlesbrough have lost in this weekend here. Blackburn still within the top 6 ahead of Norwich with a game in hand over Norwich as well, which is quite interesting there. In terms of the teams in danger, I think from Reading downwards, you'll be looking at 7 teams fighting for Championship survival at the end of the season. So to finally end off my video, guys, I'm going to now predict the 6 midweek games. Leicester, Aston Villa for the Premier League round 7 game. Ooh, this is tough. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Leicester without a manager, maybe could see a small bounce there. Unai Emery's Aston Villa looking fantastic. Saw them against Chelsea and they were really class. Leeds and Forest, really big game this. I'm gonna go 2-0 Leeds actually. Yeah, I think Leeds will actually do enough to get all 3 points here. Bournemouth and Brighton, I'm not, too reluctant to back off from a Bournemouth win, They can get some good home results. But I'm going to go for 2-1 Brighton to edge out on experience. Chelsea-Liverpool, who knows? They're managing this. We've got Bruno from Brighton as our interim coach. I mean, the whole Potter scenario is a whole other video in itself. But right now, very strange timing. The two biggest underperforming Big Six teams going up against each other, really. And I think it's going to be a 2-0 Liverpool win. I just don't see this Chelsea side winning anytime soon, unfortunately. Manchester United and Brentford, I have a feeling it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think Manchester United are going to continue going through a winless run. Finally, West Ham Newcastle. Great win for West Ham, moving them out of the bottom three with their 1-0 win over Southampton. Against Newcastle, though, I think it's going to be very tricky. I'm going to go 1-0 to Newcastle. So, guys, that is everything that I wanted to cover in my video today. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. And please comment in the comments down below of your thoughts of the match day 39 in the Championship. And make sure you comment your Championship and your Premier League for this video in the comments down below as well to get your scores on the prediction leagues. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do like the video if you've not done so. Please do hit that subscribe button if you've not done so, and please share the channel too. All these things really help. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary. It's on the end of this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.